thanks for doing this for us. It's wonderful to have you.
It's a pleasure. Very good evening to everyone, and congratulations to all the winners. Well done. These are challenging times for good journalism, so congratulations.
So we'll get into why do you say it's a challenging time for good journalism in the future, through the course of the conversation. But since we are in a room full of the best journalists in India, we have to take full disclosure very seriously. The concept of full disclosure very seriously. So in full disclosure, I must admit that, Amir, I've been a fan of yours for a very long time. I've been a fan for the last 15 years. We look at that photograph there that we dug out from the archives. That's when you were thinner, I was bigger. But Amir, I was a fan of yours then, I think because of Jochida Wohi Sikandar, because of Andaz Apna Apna. But I think today, the reason we are fans of yours is because you're unconventional. Your success has been very different from any sort of formula. You've always stayed away from a certain formula. And you've never been afraid to take a stance, which others in your position normally don't. So all these stances you take, is it impulsive? Is it thought through? Something about why you keep taking a stance?
Well, partly it's impulsive, partly it's emotional. It's an emotional reaction. And then I try and think it through also. But then finally, sometimes you feel the need to speak, so you do. Yeah, I guess.
Out of all the stances that you've taken, sometimes some are political, some aren't. Is there any one that you would regret?
No, I don't think so. No, no, I don't think so. I mean, I've faced a lot of flack many times, but no, I don't think I regret any of the stances I took.
Did you ever consider the commercial ramifications of you, sort of?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. To be quite honest, I didn't. But I've been doing okay commercially also.
I find, I mean, your career sounds a lot like the story Arunji was talking about with regards to Express, 85 years of Express. I find a lot of similarities with that. If we can just, I don't know how long we have Arunji with us for, so I can just ask him to make one quick comment. Can we get a mic in front? Arunji, one sort of piece of a comment to Amir, maybe, the role of the celebrity in society. Do you find, are you happy with what celebrities normally do? How active they are in sort of in the public discourse, or would you like them to play it as safe as they have been, or would you rather have a celebrity like Amir Khan who sort of likes to have his voice heard?
No, I'm quite okay with prominent people and achievers taking positions on issues. You see, there'll be a large number of them who are completely focused on their work, and therefore for them to develop a thought process outside their usual activity may not be possible. Everybody is not alike. But there are some people who are actively involved and at least involved in the thinking process themselves and would like to react. And therefore today, in a world where the forums for an individual to react are too many, he doesn't need a television channel, he doesn't need a newspaper, he can do it he can just in one line or a few words express himself. And I think if it's a seriously thought out view, as against just a maverick view, I think it does good to any society.
Amit, do you find that social media also is encouraging you to take a point of view? I'm sure you get sort of haggled to say, is par kuch batao, take a stance more than you would like to.
No, I don't think social media has at all affected or propelled me to make public statements. I think social media is just one more platform. If you feel like saying something on it, you can use it. So the desire to say something, I think, often makes me say what I want to, and not the platform, really. Yeah.
But off late, Amit, last 5, 6 months, artists have, after a very long time, been getting up and taking a stance, especially in the last couple of months. Your thoughts about the stance some of your contemporaries have taken, and even other artists, not just actors?
Well, I think that, for creative people to voice what they feel is important. And I think that, a number of creative people, historians, scientists have increasingly had a certain feeling in them which they felt the need to express. And I think that for a creative person, one of the ways of expressing their dissatisfaction or their disappointment is to return, awards. And I think that's one way of, getting your point across, certainly.
So you're endorsing you're endorsing the way there was a protest.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I would endorse any protest which is non-violent. As long as you don't start beating up people and as long as you don't resort to violence, then, all individuals have a right to protest, and they can protest in any manner that they feel is right, as long as they're not physically harming anybody or taking law into their own hands. And this is certainly a way to protest. For creative people, it is certainly a way to protest.
But are you, Amir? But are you agreeing with the protest? Do you think it's called for, or is it premature?
Well, I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, there are so many people here in this room who are much more knowledgeable than me, so I feel a little intimidated actually speaking in front of all of you. But my understanding is that a lot of the creative fraternity was protesting because of the growing discomfort that they felt, or the growing atmosphere of intolerance that they felt around them, a growing sense of insecurity and disappointment with that. And as a result, that was their way of showing that they are not happy with the situation. As an individual myself, as a part of this country, as a citizen, we read in the papers what's happening, we see on news what's happening, and certainly I've also been alarmed. I can't deny that I have been alarmed by a number of incidents. And, it's for any society, it's very important to have a sense of security. I mean, there will be acts of violence anywhere in the world, and they would be there for different reasons. But for us as a society, as Indians, to feel a sense of security, 2-3 things are very important, I personally feel. One is a sense of justice. So if there is a wrong step that anyone takes, then correct justice is given out for or against that person. That gives a lot of sense of security to the common man. The common man feels कि अगर कोई गलत करेगा तो उसको justice will take its due course. That is one. The second thing that gives a sense of security, and that's a very important sense for all of us to have, is that the people who are our elected representatives, people who we select to look after us for 5 years, whether that's on the state level or whether it's at the level of the center. When people take law into their own hands, when there's a sense of insecurity, we look upon these people to take a strong stance, make strong statements, and speed up the legal process to prosecute such cases. When we see that happening, there is a sense of security. When we don't see that happening, there's a sense of insecurity. So it doesn't matter who the ruling party is. It's happened across ages, it's happened in different decades, it's happened at different times. So it doesn't matter who is in power. But the fact of the matter is, and I often, on television debates we see where one political party, in this case the BJP who's ruling right now, is accused of various things, and they say, but what happened in 1984? But that doesn't make what's happening now. And what happened in 84 was disastrous. What happened in 1984 was horrendous. And what is happening, at other times also through the ages, whenever there is a violent act, when an innocent person is killed, whether it's even one single person or a collection of people, that's very unfortunate. And in these unfortunate moments, these are the moments that we look to our leaders to take a strong step, whether they're on the state level or at the center, make statements which are reassuring to us as citizens of the country. That's what we look for, yeah.
But sort of thinking about...
So in that sense, to actually complete my answer, I think I went off a long way. To complete your answer, do I agree with that? I also feel that there is a sense of insecurity, there is a sense of fear, there is a sense of...
More than there was
earlier?
earlier?
Yeah, I think in the last maybe 6 months, 8 months, there has been a growing sense of despondency, I would say. I mean, when I sit at home and talk to Kiran, you know, Kiran and I have lived all our lives in India. For the first time, Kiran says, should we move out of India? Now, that's a disastrous and very big statement for Kiran to make to me. She fears for her child, she fears for, you know, what the atmosphere around us will be. She feels scared to open the newspapers every day. That does indicate that there is a sense of growing disquiet. It's a sense of growing despondency. Apart from alarm, there's one part of it is alarm. There's another part you feel depressed. You know, you feel low. You feel, you know, why is this happening? So that sense does exist in me, to be quite honest. Yeah.
And Amir, you have faith in the media generally. You believe that what is being communicated is fairly accurate. You don't think a lot of it is.
Well, so partly, I mean, I'm saying like every other aspect of society, you know, the kind of social fabric that we live in today, that this kind of social fabric that exists around us today is reflected in the media, is reflected in the films, it's reflected in politics, it's reflected, you know, all around us. So to that extent, I think, and quite honestly, the social fabric is not at its best right now. So for me to say I have complete faith in the media, I wouldn't say that. There are a lot of there are a lot of journalists, young and senior, who are doing a good job and who are, you know, upholding what media really does stand for. But I can't say that as a sweeping generalized statement. No.
You know, one of the things that we at the Express pride ourselves in, and I think generally print journalism, I think, does a little bit better than other media, is getting nuances of a conversation out, is getting into the detail, which people are maybe losing that attention span for. Do you think the audience has that appetite for the nuance like it once sort of used to?
Well, when you're doing mass communication, it is always very difficult to have a nuanced conversation, and that's one of the challenges that people who are indulging in mass communication face. In my experience, I think the one thing that I've learned is that if you touch an emotional chord with people, then they do want to understand the nuances also. So when you're communicating, it's not only important to reach out to people intellectually, but also to reach out to them emotionally. And that for me has always worked.
But the conversation, I think, has gotten more intelligent. You know, I joined Express formally 4 years ago, and I was given the job of running the web division. And I had committed some targets to my father, and then 2 months into the job, I was very nervous because one industry veteran came and told me that, Anand, to do well on the internet, you need to do ABCD. Astrology, Bollywood, cricket, and devotion. Now this
So
is
did
not
you follow
Express,
that?
Now this is not Express territory.
But did you follow that?
So what I've been very happy to see is that we have been fairly successful without falling into that ABCD trap. So my question is, you know, Satyameva Jayate, for instance, you know, how much of audience is involved? I don't think Satyameva Jayate, my view is, it might not have been as successful 10 years ago as it is today.
You know, that's a hypothetical question, so I don't know how to answer that. But let me tell you, throughout my career, even as an actor, or whether it was SMJ or each of my films, I have to say that even in the film industry, there are people who have this thought, okay, for a film to succeed, you have to do ABCD. And if you don't do ABCD, you'll never succeed. I've never followed that. And I've been reasonably successful. You know, I think at the end of the day, you have to follow your heart, your conviction, what you essentially feel is what you have to follow. And when you do that, there's a certain energy that comes into your work, or, you know, in journalism as well, that is very intangible, which people sense, which they feel. And I think that's what's worked for me, in a sense, because I've never followed any rules of mainstream cinema, or for that matter in SMJ. We were doing a show on very, very difficult social issues, some of them that people are hesitant to discuss on a public platform. And we had, you know, a large section of the nation actually connecting with it and engaging with it in a very robust manner. Did we know that that's how the reaction would be? Did we know that's how it would succeed? We had absolutely no idea, none whatsoever.
But you know, cinema, if you go back maybe 70s, 60s, I wasn't around then, but you one read in the history books. You know, there was always something very idealistic about the main protagonist. There was a sense of anti-establishment that cinema sort of had. Do you find, you know, and I ask this question all the time, even in the context of journalism, is anti-establishment messaging becoming a little old-fashioned?
I've never thought of it that way. I mean, I don't know how to answer that question because I've not worked that way ever. I've not looked at films as anti-establishment or, you know, so I don't know how to answer the question.
But okay, but would you say that films have gotten a little bit more intelligent over time?
Intelligent is a very, you know, it's a very clunky word, I feel. I think that cinema over the 90s and over the next decades and now has become slightly more refined. It's become more, in my feeling, there's a lot more variety in mainstream cinema. Audiences have changed. The audiences want to see different kinds of stuff. I think filmmakers have changed. Filmmakers want to tell different kind of stories within the mainstream, and that was unusual. Let's say in the 70s, you would see very little of that, almost none of that in the mainstream.
Right.
So in that sense, I think there has been some amount of refinement in mainstream cinema. Yeah.
If I can just tie that response back into the journalism context, you know, the reason I sort of hope and pray for a growing audience of people who are willing to listen to the more intelligent content, the more intelligent, the more nuanced argument, is because, Amir, we're living in an age of terrorism. And
In an age of?
Of terrorism.
Terrorism, yeah.
And almost always, an act of terrorism anywhere in the world gets linked to Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that requires nuance.
Mm-hmm.
How would you?
Well, for me, acts of terror are, you know, not connected to any religion. So whether it's a person who feels he's a Muslim and is doing an act of terror, I don't think he's following Islam. Or for that matter, somebody who's a Hindu who's doing something which is, you know, which is very violent and an act of terror is not following Hinduism. I don't think that any religion teaches killing of innocents. So when you see an act which is an act of terror of violence, instead of calling that person a Christian terrorist or a Hindu terrorist or an Islamic terrorist, you should just call the person a terrorist and remove the religion tag from it, because he's actually not, you know, he or she is not really doing what the religion is supporting or what the religion is saying. So I think that's the first mistake we make is when we label them Islamic terrorists or Hindu terrorists or, you know, what have you. So that religion should be removed from that tag. It should just be terrorist who doesn't have a religion, because Islam certainly doesn't condone or even allow killing of innocents in any way.
Yeah. And Amar, you're echoing exactly what the Prime Minister said yesterday. Exactly this. In fact, the word, you know, we should remove religion from conversations of terrorism. But you know, the fact is that perception is that when you talk about terrorism, the concept of Islam or sort of Muslim extremism does come in.
Mm-hmm.
It has come in Paris as recent as that. Do you think the vast majority of the moderate Muslim, especially in the Indian context, do you think they should be speaking out a little bit more?
Yeah, I feel a vast majority of the moderate Muslims, which is in fact a vast majority of the Muslims, are most concerned about what is happening. They feel upset about what is happening. They feel uncomfortable with what's happening. And if I'm not mistaken, a number of Muslim organizations have begun to speak openly against the ISIS and similar terror organizations. They've begun to, at least in India, I know that they have. Yeah.
Amir, you as a superstar, or your sort of colleagues, do you think it's time that, you know, we get people like you also to have a little bit more strong voice when it comes to representing the moderate Muslim?
Yeah. Well, you know, I feel when you say, should I be representing the modern Muslim, I feel very uncomfortable, because I feel, first of all, why should I be representing anyone? Yeah. Secondly, if I have to represent anyone, why should I not represent everyone? Why should I have to represent Muslims? You know, so in the capacity of myself as an individual, if I'm representing my country or my society, then I stand for everyone, not just for any one section of society. My birth may be in a Muslim household, but if I speak, it's for everyone. I think that on a number of occasions, celebrities have spoken up against acts of terror. So I don't think that's not been done by us. That has been done by us, yeah.
Okay. I wanted to talk about a few more things, but I think since we have so many people sitting in the audience here, if I just get a quick show of hands and asking people around who want to get a comment in while I get a few more questions going. Is there a Lieutenant Arun Kumar Sani? Can I see him? Is he around here? I saw him at the back and then he's sort of there. Can we get a mic across here, please? General Sani is the chief of the Southwestern Army Command.
Right.
Hi. Good evening, Amir.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening, Anand. Thanks.
Sorry, no. Quick comment from you, General Sani. Do you think that is there anything that you would like the film industry to sort of speak about more when it comes to our relationship with our neighborhood? With our neighbors, specifically. What is the role do you think that cinema and film has done with regards to our relationship with our neighbors?
I think that's a known fact today that information seems to have overtaken our lifestyles. And undoubtedly, as you said, that mantra of ABCD, where Bollywood actually holds a very important space in our society. Perceptions can be changed. I think positive engagement, I think the best example is this recent movie of Bajrangi Bhaijaan. I think it gave such a positive fillip to the relationship between India and Pakistan. I thought it was a beautiful movie where sentiments actually evoked good feeling for each other. Yeah. So I think today information, media, and I'm sure Bollywood itself can really make a difference in giving a positive fillip to the attitudes that are there, because perceptions are formed by the information, and information is through the media that we are getting, whether it's print or whether it's the media which you see, mass communications, as you're saying, any of the issues. So I think that is one area where they can, of course. And more importantly, we've got 7 neighbors around us. I think a bit about each of them, the lifestyle, the problems that they face, will actually make us also more sensitive to their requirements. I think there is a great amount that can be done there. Sure. And the last movie, I think, is the best example. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I've always believed, that in any society, not just India, but in any society, you have people who play different roles in society. So the law and order machinery gives us security, and doctors give us health. So what do the creative people in society do? What is our contribution? So whether it's actors or painters or poets, writers, performing arts, every kind of artist, every kind of creative person actually can, if he or she so decides, can actually make one of the biggest contributions to society. Because doctors can give you health, but writers and storytellers can change your mind. They can change your heart. They can change the way you feel about something. And when we talk about nation building, that is an extremely important aspect of nation building. You can make the best infrastructure. You can invest in the best infrastructure, but you'll still see a car coming on your side of the road. So the hardware can be created, but what will you do about the software? And I personally feel one of the biggest challenges we face as a country today is not how to solve one particular issue or the other particular issue. It is to address the issue of us as a people. How can we as a people come together? Because until we come together and work organically, until we kind of widen our understanding of self, until that happens, I think it'll be a long time before we can change. And it is the creative people, who actually can have a huge impact in a short period of time. And that is an understanding that we all need to come to. I've always felt this for the longest time, that it's the creative people who can actually build a nation from people. It's the people,
So speaking of nation building, I can see Shashi Tharoor sitting in the front row there. Can we get a comment from you about, again, similar, on the role of society, on the role of film in nation building?
You put me on the spot. Actually, I wanted to commend Amir on his earlier comment because I thought that what he said about the concerns that were being expressed, I mean, this is something which obviously the creative community can try and do something about. Because why is it that people, including people in such positions of prominence in our country, appear to hold such regressive views about other communities, about other people? It may partially be that we haven't done enough. Maybe we need more Amar Akbar Anthony's, more films that talk about the essential commonalities amongst people. And just as the General was saying a minute ago about relations with our neighbors, the same thing applies within our country. Are we doing enough through the creative community in a way that actually compels people to think about their own deep-seated prejudices and bigotry? Because that lies, I'm afraid, at the heart that enables the kind of atmosphere that you were condemning earlier this evening.
Yeah, one of the challenges also is that the people in the creative fields are also part of the same society. So we also have the same problems that that we see around us. So we are not free from that. We are also part of the, all of us are part and parcel of the world that we've grown up in. And I think it is important for people with a more positive approach to try and do something, which I feel they are. That each one is trying in his own little way. Let's see.
Can we get a comment from Najma ji?
Amir, I want to quote something. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, your great-grandfather, said after partition, when he became the Minister for Education, he says the country's development, he said it in the Constituent Assembly, this is his speech, a country's development will not be measured by how many institutions it has, or how many buildings it has built, or how many roads it's built. It will be judged by the quality of mind behind it. So we have to build that quality of mind. Do you agree with it?
I completely agree with it, yeah. In fact, that's what I was saying a little earlier, that, I live in Mumbai, so in Mumbai, when I'm driving on the roads, I come to a traffic signal, and almost no one is following the traffic signal. And I'm like, but this is supposed to be for our benefit. So the ability of each one of us to actually understand that emotionally, is something that we have to get to. I mean, if you look at other countries, if you look at Germany or if you look at Japan, after the Second World War, they were pretty much destroyed.
Yeah.
But they've built themselves up in a remarkably short period of time. And I personally believe the reason behind that is this feeling and understanding of self, which goes beyond just yourself. The feeling of doing something and believing in something which is for the larger good, which comes instinctively to I believe, those societies, and which is why they've been able to bounce back so fast. I think that's something that we need to work on personally. I mean, that's what I feel.
So, and you've been fairly successful in doing this in your sort of method of communication. Is Mr. Agarwal around there? Can you just raise your hand? Yeah. Can we get a mic to him, please?
Hi, Amir. I have two questions, both related to your movie. One you have acted, another you have produced.
Okay.
Acted as Raja Babu.
Acted as which one?
Raja Babu.
Raja Babu.
Raja Hindustani.
Raja Hindustani.
And second, you have produced as Peeply Live.
Peeply Live, yeah.
So for the Peeply Live is what the message you want to give to the young reporters who have interest or a keen interest into investigative journalism.
Right.
And that Rajawali movie where we happen to see you having a kiss scene with one of the Kapoors.
Yeah.
And pertinent to that, Censor Board has done little censor on the kiss scene of the latest James Bond.
Yeah.
So how do you react on that?
I feel lucky.
So that was the last we saw actually.
Well, the first part of the question, just remind me again, what was that? Peeply Live, yeah. See, Peeply Live is not a comment only on journalists. The PP Live is a satire on the way we are as a society. That includes journalists, that includes politicians, that includes the administration, the bureaucracy, it includes all people, how people react as well. So it's really a satire, it's a black comedy on how we are sometimes. Now, comedy is obviously because, I mean, as a comedy, you tend to exaggerate, you tend to show it, larger, only then it gets to be funny. So, People Live is really a comment on how we are as a society. It's not just for journalists, I have to say. And the censor board currently has been, I mean, none of my films have come off for censorship of late, so I don't have any personal experience myself. But what I've heard being reported is that it is behaving in a slightly alarming way. Or maybe alarming is too sharp a word to use. It's reacting to things which earlier, we as free people, as adult people, could make our own choices as to what we want to watch and what we do not want to watch. And essentially, the censor board, which we call censor board, was actually a certification board, is supposed to certify the age for which the film is suitable. And then, if it's an adult film, essentially, if the moment a film is, certified adult, then pretty much, you should be able to show anything because an adult will decide whether he or she wants to see the film or not. Then there is no censorship required after the certification. That is our understanding of certification. But as I understand it, it has been a little aggressive in its approach of late in the last 6 to 8 months, I think, yeah. Which is worrying. I hope that changes.
But Amir, this is the same Amir Khan who made a comment about AIB, about not liking the AIB roast and saying it wasn't in good taste.
Yeah, no, I'm very much for free speech. I'm a strong campaigner for free speech. My problem with the AIB was not anything other than the fact that there were certain people who had signed up for the roast, and therefore they could be made fun of. But there were certain people who were not signed up for the roast. Some of them who I happen to know personally. And to attack such people and to say things about them when they haven't signed up for the roast was, I thought, extremely unfair. So my response was really more emotional than anything else. And the jokes made on these people were extremely sexist, extremely racist, strange kind of humor, which, if you've signed up for it, is still fine. But my reaction was really more emotional and personal, where I felt, I'm not a person, I've produced Delhi Belly. It's a highly irreverent film. It's adult humor. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with abusive language, as long as it is certified appropriately and you're an adult, you can decide whether you want to engage in it or not. But my problem is that you take an individual person and hit out at that person who actually has got nothing to do with you. I found that a little sad.
Yeah. Can we get a comment here in the first row, right? Farooq ji? Ms. Abdullah? Can we get you to make no? Just sort of comment. Okay.
Talking about, you see, songs like Ungli Karega and Chumma De De. Now, these are normal things. And then in that film, now the censor board says your kiss has to be very limited. Now, how can you make it limited? After all, you have to generate that stimulation, and the kiss does it. So I don't know how he would react to it. Ahmed, how would you react to
as long as I get to kiss on the day of the shoot, then the censor can do what they want with it.
Well said. Well said.
Okay. You saw a hand here? Yeah, please. If you just reintroduce yourself to us before you ask a question.
Hi, Amir. My name is Sudhir Chaudhary.
Hi, Sudhir.
Hi. I'm the editor of Z News. While reporting on this issue of being insensitive, हमने हाल में 2 बड़े इंसिडेंट्स देखे, एक दादरी और एक जम्मू कश्मीर में हाल ही में कर्नल संतोष महादिक, वो शहीद हुए थे. कर्नल संतोष महादिक को एक आतंकवादी ने मारा अभी पिछले हफ्ते, और दादरी का जो घटना थी वो हम सब जानते ही हैं. बोथ आर एक्ट ऑफ वायलेंस. उसके बाद भी जिस तरीके से देश रिएक्ट करता है पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम रिएक्ट करता है, हमारा सिस्टम रिएक्ट करता है, वो अलग अलग क्यों है? अगर असहनशीलता की बात करनी है तो दादरी में हम देखते हैं असहनशीलता पर बहस छिड़ जाती है और लोग अपने अवार्ड्स वापस करते हैं। लेकिन एक और जो आर्मी का अफसर है, कर्नल है, जब वो मारा जाता है तो बहुत सारे पॉलिटिशियंस यहाँ बैठे हैं, दादरी में तकरीबन सभी लोग पहुँचे थे, लेकिन कर्नल महाडिक के घर पर सातारा में सिर्फ एक रक्षा मंत्री पहुँचे थे, बाकी कोई नहीं पहुँचा। सो वाई डू वी हैव दिस डबल स्टैंडर्ड? मेरा सवाल ये है, वाई डू वी हैव दिस डबल स्टैंडर्ड while reporting also, while having a debate also, and while giving a reaction also on this? That's my question.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate. I think it's really unfortunate because every act of terror and every act of violence is to be condemned. And every act of terror and violence is to be condemned with the same ferocity. Unfortunately, you know, as human beings, a lot of us do have double standards. A lot of us who don't have double standards, most of the time, sometimes have double standards. Human beings are complex creatures. You know, that's the truth of the matter. I hope and wish that we could be like machines and we could be kind of calibrated into reacting in the appropriate way each time, and who knows what is appropriate and who decides what is appropriate. So the fact is that, you know, these are things that will happen. As you rightly pointed out, it should not happen. Ideally, whether it's the media, whether it's politicians, whether it's a common person, our reaction to violence should be identical, whether it's one community doing it or another community doing it in any way. And by and large, it is. I think by and large, most people are against violence of any kind, no matter who is behind it. I think by and large, that is the case. Yeah.
Is Mr. Sanjay Pugalia around here? No, can you just put your hand up if you're there? Right there. Can we get a mic there, please?
हेलो, जो बड़े क्रिटिकल इश्यूज हैं उस पर आपने बहुत खुले तौर पर अपनी राय रखी है
जी।
तो एक दूसरा इशू लाइटर वेन में लेकिन फिर भी क्रिटिकल है। एक तो यहाँ एक्सप्रेस ब्रांड ऑफ जर्नलिज्म है जो सेलिब्रेट हो रहा है।
सो एक्सप्रेस
ब्रांड ऑफ जर्नलिज्म,
एक्सप्रेस ब्रांड ऑफ जर्नलिज्म,
अच्छा वाला जर्नलिज्म।
जी 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 जी।
तो जब आपने पीपली लाइफ बनाई
जी,
तो उसको देख के आशा ये थी कि पीपली लाइफ टाइप ऑफ जर्नलिज्म को हम छोड़ेंगे और अच्छे वाला जर्नलिज्म करेंगे। उस फिल्म के बाद जो जर्नलिज्म हम देखते हैं, खास करके टेलीविज़न पे ज़्यादा दिखता है, वो और ज़्यादा पीपली लाइफ नहीं हो गया है क्या?
और ज़्यादा पीपली जैसा हो गया
जी।
तो उसका आप जिम्मेदारी मुझ पे ठहरा रहे हैं? वेल, देखिए, जर्नलिज्म जैसे हर फील्ड में, मैंने कहा, हर फील्ड में लोग हैं जो अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, और ज़्यादातर जैसे हमारा सोशल फैब्रिक इस वक्त है वो हर फील्ड में रिफ्लेक्ट होता है, जर्नलिज्म में भी रिफ्लेक्ट होता है। और इस वक्त जो चैलेंजेस हैं जर्नलिस्ट के सामने, जो आपने कहा था जिसके बारे में हम बात करेंगे, वन ऑफ द वेरी बिग चैलेंजेस इकोनॉमिक चैलेंज है। आप किस किस्म की जर्नलिज्म करें, आप किस हद तक उन चीज़ों के बारे में लिखें, आपके एड्स कम हो जाएंगे, आपकी इनकम कम हो जाएगी। हाउ कैन यू अफोर्ड टू डू जर्नलिज्म समटाइम्स दैट यू बिलीव इन? These are very big challenges, I think, that journalists face, on a daily basis, and it's a real battle. Unfortunately, हिंदुस्तान में जो है वो जैसे BBC एक बहुत ही it's public funded, तो public funded कोई मीडिया हाउस हो जहाँ लोग उसको फंड करें और फिर उसको खुली छूट हो, वो एड्स ना लें, वो सिर्फ जर्नलिज्म करें, तो these are idealistic things. We have to be real about where we are, in what situation we are, and we have to do the best within that. Yeah.
We are still optimistic at the Express. We still believe that there is a very economically viable way of doing high quality, credible journalism content, and at least that's the hope.
No, that's wonderful to see, and I have to say that, one of the first newspapers I pick up every day is in fact the Indian Express, likewise, when people ask me in my work, how do I do the films I do, because they seem to be films which are very absurd and weird for popular cinema, and all people close to me have always been worried each time I've selected a film. They feel this is going to bomb, it's never going to work. But I'll tell you what has worked for me. I feel that, you should never compromise with your dreams. no matter which walk of life you are in, you should never compromise with your dreams. You may have to compromise a little to achieve the dream, but never compromise the dream itself. And that's how I have lived my life, you know. And every time people have told me, अम्मी ने कितनी दफ़ा कहा है कि क्या कर रहे हो आमिर, तुम 2-3 साल में एक फिल्म करते हो, वक्त होता है इंसान का, आप उस वक्त का इस्तेमाल करें. ये आप कौन सी फिल्म कर रहे हैं, क्रिकेट पे कौन देखेगा फिल्म. So, you know, even my mother has been worried about me at all times. And all the people I know have told me at different times that what I'm doing is absurd, I shouldn't be doing it. But, you know, I think today I can look back and say they've worked, but they may not have worked. See, they may not have worked also. The projects I did might not have worked. But I have the satisfaction and joy of doing what I believed in. And you know, I have that satisfaction and joy, which is a bigger joy than, because the journey is as important as the end product. Film chale, nahi chale, what you believe in may ultimately happen or not happen. You know, a lot of people in the social field or in the political field have dreams which they fight for all their lives, but they don't achieve. So it's not the success or the failure, but the journey that you lived through your life that I think is very important, you know.
There's a question here. Yeah.
हेलो आमिर, चित्रा त्रिपाठी हूँ मैं,
Hi.
इंडियन न्यूज़ चैनल में एसोसिएट एडिटर हूँ.
जी.
मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है, आपने जब पीपली लाइव बनाई थी, उस समय जर्नलिस्ट का जो कैरेक्टर था, जो मेन जर्नलिस्ट का था, किसको देखकर आपने चुना था? क्योंकि उसमें मुझे लगता है कुछ ज़्यादा ही दिखा दिया था आपने पत्रकार को.
देखिए, सबसे पहले तो मैं एक खुलासा करूं
जी.
कि उस फिल्म की कहानी ना तो मैंने लिखी थी, ना उस पे मैंने काम किया था.
निर्माता तो आप ही थे, आपकी पत्नी किरण राव जी भी थी.
नहीं, मैं प्रोड्यूस कर रहा था फिल्म को, लेकिन अनुषा रिजवी जो एक पत्रकार रह चुकी हैं, उन्होंने वो फिल्म की कहानी लिखी, कंसेप्चुलाइज की, स्क्रीन प्ले लिखा, किरदार लिखे और डायरेक्ट भी उन्होंने की. तो ये सवाल आप उनसे पूछें.
Yes, please, right here.
Yeah, hi, this is Rajiv.
Hi
Luthra
Rajiv,
here.
how are you?
Amir, you put it very well that don't compromise with your dreams and always do the right thing that you believe in. How do you figure out what is right? What you believe in, is it right or wrong?
No, you have to go with your own judgment. At any given point, you have to go with your own judgment, and that's the best that any of us can do, really. And you have to go with what your beliefs are, what your conscience allows you to do, what your conscience feels. You know, at the end of the day, for each one of us, our conscience is our gatekeeper. You know, for each one of us.
And if you believe in something and you find out that that's not the right thing to do, then what do you do?
Oh, that's a complicated one. Tell me, if you believe in something, but that's not the right thing to do.
As per you, later on, you can always...
Oh, you mean later on? कि इस वक्त मैंने कोई चीज़ की, 2 साल बाद मुझे लगा मुझे नहीं करना चाहिए था. Then you have to seek forgiveness. You have to try and you know, redeem what you've done. First of all, accept what you've done is something today you are not very proud of, and then hopefully you can try and redeem it.
Have you ever done that?
Have I ever done that? Let me think. Wait. Yeah, I think I have a number of occasions. Yeah, I've done something which I strongly believed in. Then later on, I felt कि नहीं यार ये सही नहीं था. I shouldn't have done it. I have faced that on a number of occasions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, Amir.
Hi.
Irfan from Economic Times.
Hi, Irfan.
I'll remember an anecdote that happened with me. I briefly worked with television. I was on air for a story that some Supreme Court was saying. And while I was on television, anchor was talking to me, and I was talking about the story of the Supreme Court. Suddenly, anchor said, "Hakeem, aap bane rahiye, hamare saath तेंदवा घुस चुका है Meerut में, एक घर में. A तेंदवा has got into the house, and please you stop talking about the Supreme Court." And we are, and the camera, then the OB and everything happened. What was happening in Meerut? Just the tiger had entered into a house.
Ji.
So I want to tell you that of course it got TRPs more than what I was saying. But I was talking about a very serious story. Then Tendwa was in a Meerut house. So how do you face these kinds of situations when you have to decide about TRPs or being seriousness? And how often does it happen these days?
See, I don't know about the media world because I've not really worked in it. So it's very difficult for me to really... It's very difficult for me to really, you know, comment in an accurate way. I can tell you about my own world. there are often times when we are faced with situations where we feel, okay, oh, is this something that is like you have TRP? Is this something that people will like? So when I'm making a film like Tare Zameen Par, is this a film that people will want to watch? Is it mainstream cinema? On the face of it, certainly not. It's not mainstream cinema. It's a story about a child who's got dyslexia, the only person who's like me, I'm the only popular person in the film. I come midway through the film. So for various reasons, it's not your normal mainstream cinema. But I still want to make it because I just love that story and I want to be part of that film. And I go ahead and I make it. So I don't think of TRPs or how many tickets will sell most of the time that I'm taking decisions. In fact, all the films that I've done, even whether they're successful or not, are films that I've selected because I felt like doing them. And a number of them have been very, very off from the mainstream. They've not been part of mainstream. Have they been easy decisions? No, they've not been easy decisions. Whether it was Lagan, whether it was Rang De Basanti, whether it was, Tare Zameen Par, all of these times, you're constantly driven by self-doubt. Now and then you feel, okay, am I doing the right thing? Will people be interested? Satyamev Jayate. We had no idea whether people would be interested in it. So, do we go through doubts? Yes. But the doubt is not strong enough to derail us. And I think that's very important. Doubts are important, they keep you on your feet, but you should not be derailed in what you believe in, is what I feel. And I've been fortunate so far. I guess somebody up there is looking after me.
We'll take one last question before we... Can I see? Right there? Yeah. Please.
Hello, Amir.
Hi.
I'm Vandana.
Hi, Vandana.
And I'm from the government.
Okay.
And I must tell you that you just said that we should live for our dreams and try to achieve them. And I have been, dreaming of attending one of your talk shows ever since I saw Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, and here I am. And yes, you do make a lot of very absurd, you go for absurd topics.
Yeah.
And one of them was what you just mentioned, Tare Zameen Par. And that is what, made such a change even among students. I don't know whether you know, but my child also started looking at his own schoolmates who he said, he's a special child, Mama, I have to be very careful.
Yeah.
So the commercial...
So sensitivity really rose at... Yeah.
Yes. So people in Bollywood should actually make more social movies which have a message.
Yeah.
And not just look for ABCD and their returns. It makes a big impact even on the nation, like you just said that, Germany and Japan, the people just bounced back.
Yeah.
So even in our country, there are a lot of people who are fence-sitters who will bounce back to a much better way of life.
Yeah.
And they're highly influenced by Bollywood. I wish all of you producers, there could be more like you who would think of these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll... Can we get a comment from Tavleen Singh? Yeah? Okay, I'm putting her on the spot, but she gave me so many questions to ask and I've not had the opportunity, so I'm... But I'll introduce Tavleen Singh as...
I know Tavleen.
But she's the most popular, most shared and most commented on writer in IndianExpress.com every week.
Wow.
So, yeah. Go ahead.
Wow.
You're softening the blow. I asked him to ask you a question which is politically incorrect, and in such a happy atmosphere, I feel guilty asking it. But there's no point in pretending that what happened in Paris has nothing to do with Islam. It does. The people who did the killings had a Quran in their hand. They've done it in the name of Allah. Now, we live in a country with the second largest Muslim population on the planet. We have our own kind of Islam, which produced Ghalib and Mir, and you'd be shot dead in ISIS, if you were living in the Islamic State. So I'm just curious to know whether you think about these things. You were very eloquent about how intolerance has grown in India, which I don't agree with. I think we're as intolerant as we ever were, or as tolerant. But do you think about what we might face if Wahhabi Islam obliterates poets like, where would Ghalib be able to say, Khuda ke vaste parda naqabe se hata? Sorry, I have a very bad throat.
Yeah.
So do you think about these things? Would you
I
like
do.
to talk about it?
No, I do think about these things. First of all, I want to disagree with you. I don't feel they were Islamic acts. A person who's holding a Quran and killing people, he may feel he's doing an Islamic act, but as a Muslim, I don't feel he's doing an Islamic act. So I want to disagree with you on that. I'm very clear that a person who's killing innocents is someone who's not is not a Muslim. As far as I'm concerned, he's not a Muslim. He may claim to be a Muslim, but we should not recognize him as that. He's a terrorist, and we should recognize him as a terrorist, is what I feel. My problem is not just with the ISIS, it's with that kind of thinking. So my fear, when you say that, do you think about it, are you afraid of such things happening? Of course I am. And that fear is there with that kind of thinking. Today it could be ISIS, tomorrow it could be some other organization. This extreme thinking is what I worry about. Because I feel that this extreme thinking, no matter where it comes from, is very, very destructive and very, very negative. So I have a problem with that kind of thinking. So certainly I have a problem with ISIS. And I'm saying that this extreme kind of thinking, which may belong to any section of any religion, is what I have a problem with. So certainly I do have a problem with that. Yeah.
I think that's all we have time for. Thanks so much, Amir, for being here and making
Thank
this
you.
event so special for us.
Thank you.